It feels like everyone immediately wrote the Brewers off after this offseason when they traded their ace Corbin Burnes and lost their manager Craig Counsel to the division rival Cubs. They apparently took notice to that noise and came out red hot to a 10-3 record and have looked poised to be a threat in the National League. The biggest part is Christian Yelich coming out strong and looking like he did in his MVP season in a small sample size. Now, I'm not saying he will or won't keep it up, but if he keeps it up, the sky could be the limit for Milwaukee. Regardless of play, the Brewers have one of the youngest teams in baseball surrounded with a lot of talent. They are putting something together over there. Like I previously said, a lot of people counted Milwaukee out because of their earlier offseason moves. I think Counsel leaving and going to the rival Cubs helped it become easier to jump to conclusions as well. It seemed moving on from Burnes could have been the start of a rebuild, but in reality, the Brewers still can compete. From the Burnes trade, they acquired young pieces in infielder Joey Ortiz and left-hand pitcher DL Hall. It's a solid trade in my opinion. This trade makes a lot of sense to me because when you see the age of the core and everyone they're building around over in Milwaukee and know that Corbin Burnes will be a free agent next year, it just doesn't seem that he fits the timeline for it, so why not move on, get some young pieces, and build something over there, like they are. More fuel was added to the rebuild or retool fire, and at first I didn't understand trading away Mark Canha, especially when it was for a minor league pitcher. The reality of that trade was to get money off the books and open up the outfield for all the young talent they have. Not even a month later, they ended up signing the number 2 prospect in baseball, 20-year-old Jackson Chourio, to an 8-year, $82 million deal. When I said they needed space for the young outfield, I meant it. The outfield they have besides Yelich and Chourio consists of Blake Perkins, Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, and Joey Wiemer. Even though Mitchell will miss time, these guys especially have proven they belong in the bigs with some sort of role. Yelich is the only outfielder on the roster over 30. The rest are 27 and younger and all have a year or less of MLB service time. The infield is filled with youth as well. Third baseman Oliver Dunn is 26, William Contreras is 26, Willy Adames is 28, Bryce Terang is 24, and Joey Ortiz is 25. Youth is nice to have when putting together a core. They also have the number 43 prospect in third baseman Tyler Black and the number 33 in Jefferson Caro. Caro is a catcher, but he will miss the rest of the year with shoulder surgery. Tyler Black is projected to get the call-up this year, and that adds some depth to an already young and talented roster. The pitching staff is somewhat put together as well. It is headlined with 27-year-old Freddie Peralta and 25-year-old DL Hall. They also have Brandon Woodruff, but he won't pitch again until next season. They also have Robert Gasser, a left-hand pitcher is projected to get the call-up this season, and the number 31 prospect in baseball, flamethrower Jacob Mizorowski. He could see time at the end of the year, but more likely than not, you'll see him in the majors next year. They have signed a few placeholders in the meantime, in rotation pieces such as Wade Miley, Jacob Junis, and Joe Ross. All of them signed one-year deals, which shows the Brewers' intentions. In free agency, they spent $17.25 million between those 3 pitchers. In total, they spent $72 million. They also signed Woodruff to a 2-year deal worth $17.5 million, Gary Sanchez to a 1-year $3 million deal, Eric Haas to a 1-year $1 million deal. Just a quick side note, I'm a Sox fan, so I watched a lot of games against the Tigers with Haas. I think he's a very underrated player who has a lot of power, good defense. I think he's a major league caliber guy who I would love to see to get playing time. The headline of this free agency was Rhys Hoskins to a 2-year $34 million deal. The average age of a rostered Brewer this year is 28 years old. The only offensive players that are over 30 are Gary Sanchez, who's a bench piece, and Christian Yelich and Hoskins. Both Hoskins and Yelich are guys who start and have a major impact on the success of a team. I'm a huge Rhys Hoskins fan. Watching him play in Philly and in Milwaukee, you could kind of tell he's just a spark plug. He's a great dude to have in the locker room, and he just fires everyone up. It seems everyone rallies around him, and basically just his importance is more than the stats he has out there. He just seems like a great guy you want to have on your team, but a guy you do not want to play against. I'm a fan of his. The offense is legit so far. They rank second in runs scored, home runs, slugging percentage, batting average, and on-base percent. These guys have it going so far. They have 2 legitimate stars and MVP candidates on this team with Christian Yelich and William Contreras. Yelich is coming out firing because in 39 at-bats, he's slashing .333 with the .422 on base with 5 homers, 11 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. Contreras so far has 56 at-bats with a .375 average and a .455 OBP, along with 4 homers and 15 RBIs. I think the X factor of this offense has to be Christian Yelich. Ever since his MVP season, he never really recreated that success and consistency, so if he can this year, that's a huge plus for Milwaukee because he could legitimately carry them to the playoffs if he plays like he did before. The pitching staff has been solid of now too. In regards to the staff as a whole, they rank top 10 in the least amount of runs allowed, ERA, and saves. They have been pretty efficient to this point too. The pen has been a big question mark, especially after we know Devin Williams will miss until about the All-Star break, but a guy like that can change the pen from average to elite. They used 3 guys in save opportunities so far in his absence. Thiago Vera is 1 for 1 in those, Payamps is 1 for 2, and Abner Uribe is 3 for 5. In total, they're 5 for 8 in save opportunities, and that just shows the effect of not having Williams, who's among the best of the best at closing games. The staff is especially interesting to me because between starters and relievers, it seems everyone has a sub-3 ERA or a balloon 5 and up, which basically just shows me that guys are either going out there and performing or getting shelled. I know it's early on, small sample size, but just something interesting to note. I think the bullpen success will really determine how the squad turns out this year. The X factor for this pitching will have to be Abner Uribe, who seemingly is the fill-in closer. If he does his job well, the Brewers will be in a good place. But worst comes to worst, they have so much outfield talent that they could just trade for someone and boost that bullpen or rotation. Overall, the Brewers are an interesting team. On paper, you really would not think they're as good as they are, but right now they're leading the really tough NL Central. I personally think the Pirates win the division, but I can see a scenario where the Brewers really get it going and either compete to the end and win it, or potentially compete for a wild card spot. I do think the roster is talented enough to make the playoffs, but not for certain. Regardless of how they finish, they're in a good spot with everything going on. Anyways, comment your thoughts on the Brewers roster. Thank you for watching and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys later.